super sound. Take a deep breath. The book's name has to be something that comes to your tongue very fast. It's not very difficult to talk about it. What is this woman writing? How is this woman writing so well? How is the world created in my head? Female protagonist who is trying to fight for her queendom, who is in this world out there alone, roaring for her own kingdom. I don't like this ending still. Yeah, this feels much better. I just created another video which got deleted where I was ranting and formal. So now I think this video would be a little more formal than that. But maybe. Anyhow, my point of making this video is to talk about myself. Usually on the internet, I make poetic reels, book content, study with meals, cosmic wanderers, so something related to astronomy, the universe. But today, it's going to be purely about myself, which is something that I've never done. That's why I think I'm going to be very awkward throughout this video. I'll try not to be, but I don't give any guarantee. So first of all, hi. I am Kriti Singh, an undergrad at the University of Toronto, doing astrophysics, specializing in that. I don't know, I think that was required in order for me to introduce myself. And today I'm here to talk about something so fun. I've not done it in a very long time. But today I'm here to talk about a part of my life that has been a part of it since my early teenage, since I was 14. Today's video is going to be about writing and how it came into my life, why it came into my life, and how you can publish your own book in the future. I'm also going to talk about my book, which is coming up in the next 7 days now. Not 7. Yeah, around 7. Oh my god. Not many days left for the launch. I could turn it in like a couple of days. Completely left my mind, but let's not procrastinate right now. Take a deep breath. Now let's talk. So, I became a writer at a very young age. Before my teenager, I've been writing a lot in my diary, ranting, writing poetry, both Hindi and English. But at the age of 14, something clicked in me. I wanted to create a story out of whatever I was writing. That is when I started to work on my book called Competitive Contemporaries. I know it wasn't the best name to choose, but I was a 14-year-old in like 9th, 10th grade during COVID, thinking about what should I name my book. I wanted to name it something cool, something that is a little hard to pronounce so that people think that I am very read and learned person and knowing everything, etc., etc. But in that process, I forgot that the book's name has to be something that comes to your tongue very fast. It's not very difficult to talk about it. That is tip number 1. Whenever you're writing a book, if you're writing a book, that is, always name it something like that. But yeah, coming back to the point. I wrote this book called Competitive Contemporaries. It was again based out of astrophysics, about a guy entering the black hole, things happening with him, things happening with his family right outside the black hole, and it had 2 volumes to it. So I actually had to write a lot, though they weren't very thick books. I think I'm gonna, put a picture of them somewhere here, of the first one here. I'm gonna put the second one a little later, because something else came before that. So, I don't know, I was a kid, not knowing how to do anything without anyone's help. And I was out there writing a book, not knowing how the world works, how to get my book out to the audience. I did not really have a social media then, not an active one. Somehow cut off myself from my friends, so I did not really have anyone to send my book to. But somehow I decided to release it. Now I'll tell you the free platforms that I used to publish it with, because of course I'm a 14-year-old and because I'm the eldest daughter, I have this thing of not asking people to help me, and even for my parents, I don't want to be a burden on them. So that has been there since a very young age. It is not a flex. It is not a flex. It is very hard to manage basically like that. But yeah, so I decided to self-publish it for free, and I used two platforms. First was Kindle Direct Publishing, which helps you publish your book globally, but it did not publish paperback in India, and I don't think they do it still. So the other platform that I had to use was Notion Press. Now during this process, during the time when I was trying to connect with Notion Press, many hindrances came my way because they were calling me continuously, trying to convince me to buy their package, which, by the way, was very expensive. Cost me rupees 80. I mean, it did not cost me because I did not buy it, but in general, it costed rupees 80,000 now to get their package where they'll help me publish my book, help me help people review it, help editors be there, etc. etc. I was just very scared. Like, what if I ask my dad for this money and he actually gives it to them and they just keep it with them and don't do anything about it? I'd still not trust internet as much as I do today. Even today, I don't do it because of the scams that have been increasing. But now I know how to segregate between original websites and the websites which actually look like scams. But that time I couldn't even do that. But so I decided to go ahead with the free plan that they had, because they had a free plan which they wouldn't of course sell, because how is it that giving them any profit? But it gave them profit. So they kept 30% of each book that I sold, or let's say 100 rupees. Then they would give me 70 rupees and they would keep 30 with themselves. That is how they gain money. But again, this would only happen if you sell many books. If you don't do it, then there's nothing for them except for like 30 rupees and 5 people buy it. 500. That's a lot of money. That's why they don't want to spend that much on printing a book if they don't get anything in return. So now I still published it. I published it through these two platforms, and both of them had a similar ratio, giving me 70, keeping 30 for themselves. The same printing process, the only interest of more time for it to publish, because I was using the free platform that published in 3 days. If I paid for it, money, I don't know what to do this work. Yeah. And I think I sold like 150 copies of the book. I wasn't even expecting that. Though I did not gain as much money as I thought I would, but I still gained some money, so which was very good for me. The next book, I don't know why, but I decided to publish a poetry book. Nobody in this world today wants to buy a book in order to read poetry, and I don't know why did that not come to my mind. I was just very boggled. At the age of 14, I can make my own money. So I was just in a rush to not design a storyline, and I just compiled my notes chapter and made a poetry book out of it. I've been at this the past 10 minutes. I just realized that I hope you guys are able to cope with that. And I will try for this video to not be very long. But yeah, again, so I decided to publish this book, and I sold like 15, 20 copies, not a lot, because I knew that it's going to be very hard to sell this book. Also, for some reason, because of the money-minded person that I became at the age of 14, I increased the price of it. So my first book was around like 199 rupees. This one, so $699, 700 rupees, which is a lot of money for one to buy a book, a thin-ass book, which was my book, The Unprecedented Terms, as you can see it. So that book was a big fail, and I dedicated it to my nanu. So my nanu passed away in that year, 2021, a few months before I published that book, and I was very attached to him. That's a different storyline. I don't want to cry here, but yeah, that is what happened. That's just the storyline in that book. But sadly, I couldn't sell many copies of it. By the way, if you want to buy it, you want to boost my money-minded personality, please buy this book. It's available on Amazon. I try and link all the books in the description, by the way, if you want to get anything first. Please do, please. Anyhow, coming back to me publishing my books. So for the next book, I took a whole year to write it nicely, for me to design it nicely, and it was volume 2, Competitive Contemporaries. And trust me, now that I read it, it is actually very interesting, because again, I was around 16 when I published this book. Maybe 17, I don't know. But yeah, I was a little older, and this book came out, and it was not a big sell. It wasn't that big. I don't know why. I actually put in a lot of effort in that. Again, marketing plays a very big role. Guys, if you do not have a marketing base, you would not have a very good success in terms of being an author. Anyhow, so this book came out. It was not that big a sale for me. I sold like 50-60 books, not as much as I thought I would. I thought that it might have been a problem with my first volume, that people are not interested in the second one. And I guess that it might be so, because I was 14-year-old writing that book. Not anyone's fault, my fault. But then I also realized that I did not do anything to market this book. I just started to talk about this book when it came out, and I did not talk about it for more than a month. And I repeated that mistake again. So my latest book, which is out on the internet, out there on Amazon, came out last year in May 2024. It was called Walking Across a London Bridge. So far, it is my best written book, because I was pretty mature while writing this book, and it has a clear storyline. It is a young adult fiction, so there's not much involved in it. No science fiction, no poetry, nothing very complicated for people to understand. No complicated names. That is why I sold more books for this. So I sold like 350 books for Walking Across the London Bridge, and it was a big hit. At least in my world, it was. Maybe not in yours, but I need all the appreciation that I can get. It's called self-care, guys. Self-care. Anyhow, so I published this book. It was inspired by my own life, somewhere here and there. But then, I read this series called Aquatage, A Court of Sons and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. If you're a reader, you would have read this book 101%. No chance you would. And this just opened my mind as to what is this woman writing? How is this woman writing so well? How is the world created in my head? I have read Harry Potter and all, trust me, but this was something different. That is when I decided to read many more fantasy fiction books. I think I'm reading one right now. Chosen Ones, Veronica Roth, again a very good book. I'm a big fan of Veronica Roth from Divergent. If you have read it, if you have seen it is not that good, but the book is very good. Anyhow, so I entered this world of fantasy fiction and I loved it. I loved the way the authors created their own universe in my head. Carve the Mark, Divergent series, Chosen Ones, Shadowhunters, all these books, right? They created a space in my head like I wanted. They gave me peace in their own blood-shattering way. I don't know how to describe it. I sound like a criminal right now, but trust me, I'm not. At least that's what I'd say. I'm not. But this is what inspired me to write the book, which is coming out right now. She Who Painted Her Own Universe. I was so excited to take the name of this book since the beginning of this video. It was very hard for me to keep it in, but I wanted to. But yeah, now it's out there. So, She Who Painted Her Own Universe. I started to work on this book 5 years ago. That means I started to work on this book before publishing Unprecedented Prompts. Probably. And then I stopped. I'll tell you why I stopped. So I was writing this book and I thought of this female protagonist who is trying to fight for her queendom, who is in this world out there alone, roaring for her own kingdom, gaining it back from those people. Ruthless, watching people lose their lives in front of her, people who never trusted that she would become a queen and she would be a good one in that. And she is continuously failing but wants to succeed. And during that time in 2021, I was just there. I was just feeling a woman who is not able to do anything, watching her kingdom fall, did not really feel that good about herself. So that is where the story stopped. I wasn't feeling good about myself for 4 or 5 years. I wasn't proud of myself. I wasn't proud of things happening. I saw people being proud of myself around me, and I was very happy for that. But in myself, within myself, I did not feel that good. So that is why I started to continue this book 2 to 3 months ago, when I finally felt like myself again, felt like I can do it, and I want this character to do it, and I want this book to work out. And that is when I entered the world of magic and I amalgamated it with my book. This story is not confined to her fighting for her queendom anymore. It is about creating her own world out there. In that, there's of course romance involved, there's a love story involved, there are many twists and turns involved. There are a lot of things involved which you might not expect until unless you read them. Because she goes through some serious betrayal that she shouldn't go through. But anyhow, that is when I decided to publish this book. Now it's finally over. It's a little thick book, it will be around 500-600 pages. But it's finally over. I think I wrote 150 pages in the beginning, 5 years ago. And I had to edit them all because I felt so depressed while reading those paragraphs. I thought, why is she like that? Why is she not fighting back? Why is she just observing everything? But now finally, I could make it about a queendom. I could make it about Queen Arisa Rivanda. That's the name of the protagonist, by the way. And I don't know how much, I can't explain how much emotions I've put in this book while writing this book. And I really, really, really wanted to reach the right audience, the audience which supports fantasy fiction, the audience which supports ACOTAR, creation of a world around them, just creating an image in their head. That is what I want out of this book. And I cannot emphasize enough, I cannot emphasize how excited I am to talk about this book out there in public. If people read it, and I really, really want people to read it, and I don't know what else to do in order to market this book. If you have any idea, please put it down in the comments. And I hope this video also reaches a few, at least from my side. If you can, please share it with your friends if they are into romancy, fantasy fiction, anything like that. Book reading in general. In this book, in this video, I've also talked about how I publish my books. I think that is also going to help them. And by the way, if you need any help in the future, I am always here. Any reviews that you need, if you need them, or anything like that. But yeah, so now this book, She Who Painted Her Own Universe, is coming out on 25th of May, 2025. 2020. Oh! 25/5/2025, that is right. I'm a little proud of myself right now. I'm going to drop the blurb in the description. I hope you read it. And now I'll see you in the next video. If you need anything for me to talk about, I will post it. By the way, guys, I'm on a summer break right now. I'll return back in September. That's when the study streams are going to come back. That's it. That's my rant about book writing journey. Bye.